Good evening, Bougie Club. How are you guys doing? Happy Friday. I'm thankful for all of you all tuning in. For those of you who are new to the Bougie Club, this is Epic Everyday Live, where we go out into the community and highlight individuals who are being bougie and proactively doing things to be the change they want to see in their community. So BOUGIE is an acronym for bold, outspoken, unapologetic, good-willed, inspiring, and epic. Hence the title, Epic Every Day. The mission of the Bougie Club is to create opportunities for individuals to share ideas and information for the purpose of self-improvement, financial stability, and improving our communities at large. Today we have Mr. and Mrs. Burton. This is Ryan Burton, who is the CEO and founder of Tap Youth Org, and his lovely wife, Lisa Burton, who is the founder for the, hold on, let me get my notes because I don't want to say it wrong. I was so excited at the title of her initiative, but it is the Unapologetic Diversion Project. So we'll kind of tag team back and forth because I think this is beautiful, what you guys are doing. Bougie Club, this is Black love at its finest. You have a husband and wife that are both passionate about changing the community, and they're actually working together to change the face of how we see mental health and disorders in our community. So we'll kind of start with Ryan, and then we'll piggyback over to Miss Lisa so that they can tell you all what they do. So Ryan, you have Tap Youth Org. Can you tell the Bougie Club what Tap Youth Org is?
Yes, Tap Youth was founded in 2008. It's basically set up to be able to break the destructive cycle of the school to prison pipeline for at-risk youth that are ADHD. TAP stands for Training, Aligning, and Preparing Youth with ADHD and their families. One of the main focus we focus on at-risk youth and their families due to all the injustices and things that are being bestowed upon them, and also seeing how they're being put into the school to prison pipeline directly off the bat. And that's very alarming. Myself having ADHD is very saddening to me. You know, it brings tears to my eyes to see how so many of our young men and women that are inside the school system are being locked up, and nobody has any type of regard towards the fact that this is a population of individuals that are not getting the help or love or attention that they need.
You mentioned the school to prison pipeline. I know I didn't become aware of how true that was and the reality of it until I started actually teaching myself and started going to school to become a teacher, where I realized that like that's a real thing. And a lot of parents don't understand that the standardized tests that the kids take every year are used as projections for how many prisons that they need to build, because data has shown that if they're not proficient in performing on grade level by the time they're in third grade, there's a higher propensity for those students to end up incarcerated.
Right.
So I love what you're doing for the ADHD population. So kind of tell what you're doing in the school systems with the ABLE project.
Okay. So I moved away to Dallas, and I stayed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for around 4 years, working through universities there, and also working along with students that were at risk and also that were juvenile delinquents. With that, right before I moved here, I was over the autism department of elementary school that was in Texas. And so while doing the work, I was just really compelled, like, man, I really need to get back to my city, back to my roots, because I'm seeing that the individuals here, they have the resources that they need, but inside my city, they don't have the resources. So when I moved back to Memphis, I started working for one of the charter school districts, and working with the charter school district, I was the individual that trained the teachers, but I also collected all the data that was sent to the state. While I was collecting this data for all these students, to be able to send to the state. I was tracking how they were being suspended, how many times they got in trouble, how many times they were being sent out of class, and that data that I was getting was actually being sent to the state to be able to be used to be able to make those projections about prisons and things that'll be able to be set up in the future. You know, when I got wind to that ate me up on the inside. Honestly, it caused me a lot of depression. You know, going through that and understanding that I moved here to be a change agent, and then through my good works that I was doing, that data I was using to not only being used to set up jails that were set up to be put in the future, but also it was set up to move those kids directly into the school to prison pipeline, because majority of the students I was working with, they were not able to read. They were just going through so many traumatic issues at home. But then on top of that, when you tied in ADHD, I was seeing kids with ADHD being suspended from school. At least some of these kids had up to 10 days of suspension. Some of the kids were in the school, and the teachers were actually counting how many days they had to be suspended to be able to move them out of school. So I'm sitting there fighting for these kids day in, day out. I'm there. I'm creating ADHD Boy Scout troop. I'm doing extracurricular activities. I'm setting the brotherhoods inside the school, along with all my other duties as being one of the school leaders. But in the midst of doing that, I've had educators and other administrators come in and say, "Ms. Burton, you're doing too much. That's not what this is about. This school system, the way that it's going out, it's not set up to see these kids move forward. It's about them passing the test. And when they can't pass the test, they're not an asset." And that's sickening to me to know that you take out babies and you do them like that, because I was the same way. I graduated from inner city school here in Memphis. When I graduated from school, I was on the second grade reading level, not because I couldn't comprehend or understand what I was reading, but it was because my brain was moving so fast to where when I see a book with all these words inside of it, it's too much.
Right.
And when I was being taught how to read, it was more so of, let me just get the information so I can pass the test, not read it for comprehension. And so that was something that I pushed too, and doing, reading programs with the students as well to help them out. So with that, I've seen just across the board, not only was I a product of that, I moved back and I see the things that are going on. So that had me stand up and say, I'm going to fight for this each and every day, because I know how it is, because I've been that child. Right. And that saddens me. So I don't just sit back and, throw negative things out to other people about what they're not doing. I come up with solutions to be able to move that forward.
Okay, so I think this is a perfect opportunity to segue into what you're doing, Ms. Burton, because your experience is from a male perspective of having ADHD and being able to go along that continuum and see how it affected you during school and after school. But this is kind of where you pick up, because a lot of times when we think of ADHD, we think of little boys, but it's a real challenge for our young ladies too. So can you kind of tell them how ADHD affected you from a female perspective and how that led to you developing your program?
Okay. In regards to ADHD from a female perspective, 75% of the women who are diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, they end up later on being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And yes, I have bipolar.
Yeah. Team bipolar. I
have bipolar disorder. So, so you have these young women who they might seem as though they're very withdrawn, or they may be thinking a lot, or they may be a little bit hyper too, because I know I was hyper. I had straight U's in conduct, but I had straight A's. I had a smart mouth. I was always into everything because my mind was constantly going. So with the Unapologetic Diversion Project, what it's for women who also have concurrent disorders, and what that is you have a mental gift, as well as you have a addiction. Mine is alcoholism. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I'm also bipolar. So with those that makes a concurrent disorder. So with the Unapologetic Diversion Project is a platform where women can come and they can share their experiences. They don't have to be afraid. They can come anonymously, or they can come as themselves. They can share poems, experiences, about treatment, about their stories in alcoholism, their stories having to do with abuse, their stories having to do with being bipolar. And they don't have to be ashamed, and they don't have to be afraid, because being bipolar is actually a gift. So people write it off as just, oh, well, that person is crazy. Their mood changes very quickly. And it's a lot more that goes into that than the mood changing very quickly. It's a chemical thing, you know, and it's also your surroundings. It's also the people that you're around. So these women don't have to be ashamed. They don't have to be afraid. They can just come and tell their stories. And the Unapologetic Diversion Project is still developing, but I'm also working on a book that I'm going to publish quarterly. It's an anthology where people can write in and tell their stories, just as far as bipolar disorder, addiction, alcoholism. They can write in, tell their stories, and it'll be published. They can come anonymously, but it'll be published, and the book will be available on Amazon. So like I said, it'll be like an anthology. It'll come out quarterly, and they'll just be free to do that. You don't have to be afraid anymore, because be unapologetically you and unapologetically true. So that's one of the things that we deal with the Bougie Club, is just tapping into our truths and sharing our stories. Well, I get naked. I tell everybody I get naked with them, and what that means is that I just tell my truths from a standpoint of maybe it might help somebody. And I went live a couple of weeks ago. I can't keep track of the time frame at this point, but I talked about addiction and being able to put on your empathy shoes, because you never know what the person is dealing with. And a lot of times they use drugs or controlled substances, or, I mean, your addiction can manifest in several different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be a drug. I know for me, it's shopping. And that was one of the things that I did to validate myself or make me feel enough. And I like buying things for other people, but I know that's where I'm at my heightened state when I start shopping. So that's kind of how I know when I'm going on one end of the other of the spectrum. But I think it's important that you're doing this, because a lot of people on the outside looking in don't understand that these addictions stem from masking something or coping. The addictions are
with
symptoms.
Coping with some type of pain. So explain to them how what you're doing marries with what Ryan's doing, because I love the way Ryan describes you when he talks about you. So Ryan, do you feel comfortable sharing with the Bougie Club how you described your wife to me? Because I thought it was a beautiful way to do that.
Yeah, I know one of the things too, just of having ADHD, like my brain being able to move so fast and being able to encompass so much at one time. One of the things is I set parameters in my life to make sure I live by certain rules. So the rules that I have, that I structure my life around, is love and truth. Everything I do is centered around love and truth. You know, nothing that I do, and anybody that come around me, they know that that's one thing that he's going to do. Always be truthful and always give love. And I know if I lean on that, I will be able to find myself moving forward inside a positive way, bringing in positive energy towards myself. And so with that, I apply that same understanding and concept to my marriage with my wife. So with my wife and I, our marriage is, you know, it was turbulent. It was just hard, you know what I'm saying? Being able to come in and have two individuals that think differently and trying to conform to what the world is doing. And so then when I start to see that, hey, you want to know what? We're not like everybody else. We can't be like everybody else, and we never will be. And it's just like I see the beauty in who she is. And I see the fact that when I see her being bipolar, I look at it as beautiful chaos. And I look at it to where by being beautiful chaos, yes, I love when she's creative and she's all over the place, and that me and her are rolling, and that the energy we have are matching each other, and we matching each other intelligence, and just we have an amazing time. But then some of the time when she's down, that's the time I look at it to where she has a deep reflection on things, and I'm able to engage her in a way and just really be there to take care of her and love her. And with me having ADHD, I love to hyper focus on things, so I can be able to hyper focus on my wife and love who she is, and understand that I need for her to be down at that time so I can take care of her, and but also allow for her to have time to explore and create, because that time when she's down, she's able to use that energy that she has within her to create so many wonderful things. She's published amazing books, moved forward a lot of great movements, and she's done that through these certain times that she has. So I look at my wife having the beautiful chaos. My thing is, more so than anything, is that I want her to always see that she is beautiful, and that I love her no matter what and who she is, and that I know that we're powerful together as one. And I look at it to where, with my ADHD and my wife being bipolar, I look at it to where I look for us to be the new normal.
Okay. Well, you know, the Bougie Club, we're all about redefining words, hence the Bougie Club being an acronym versus having a sometimes negative connotation that it has. So and I apologize, you guys, I know you see me looking down, but I'm trying to get online so we can get your comments. And of course, you know, we're new to this, so it's not cooperating. Facebook decided I needed to do an update on the tablet. From a community perspective, what is some advice that you can give to the Bougie Club so we'll start with ADHD, for those parents who are struggling? Because I know for me, my oldest son had ADHD, and he always had an explanation on why he got in trouble and why he wasn't doing this and why he doesn't do that. I know my sister has grandsons with ADHD, and one in particular, he always has a reason. Like, he can always validate why he didn't follow the rules. He can always validate why he did this or that. As a parent, how do you cope? Because at the end of the day, I just want you to go to school and behave and do what they said and not get a phone call. So coming from being an adult now, and you all have a child, what's your recommendation to parents? Like, how do you cope with that? Because it becomes frustrating, and for me, at one point, the phone calls became a personal attacks on my parenting skills. And so then I'm feeling a totally different type of way, because not only are you calling me telling me that my child's not behaving, then you're coming at me about it's something I'm doing wrong, or, you know, I talked in the video that brought everybody to the Bougie Club about raising your kids. So this is a challenge for a lot of parents. How do you raise a kid with ADHD and allow them their individuality? How do you focus the hyper focus? What is some advice?
Yeah, with that, well, first thing right off the bat is that parents, it's not your fault that your child has the superpowers. When I say superpowers, that's their ADHD abilities that they have. So, like you said, a child who has ADHD, they could be inside of a classroom and they're doing mundane tasks, just everyday, routine tasks that they may have that they really don't understand why they're doing. They're focusing on other things that may be going on inside the room, and their attention is being drawn over there, or they need to focus and go do this, and need to go do this, or this end up happening so they can be able to focus on that. Their minds just naturally think that way. So when they're inside of a classroom and they're at risk, for one, saying at risk where you're inside of a classroom where you have students that are inside the classroom and they're having behavior issues as well, and they're very low on their reading levels. They're not really able to move forward how they need to in class as well. And then you have your child that's ADHD. It's inside the class. That mind is moving like a Ferrari. Like they said that with your mind with ADHD, it's like a Ferrari without brakes. So with that, having a Ferrari brain without brakes.
And that's a pretty fast car.
Exactly. You have to be able to align it up to where that Ferrari has a specific direction that it's going in. If it's not in a specific direction of where it's going in, it can outpace everything that's going on, and in turn, you're going to create problems, because instead of focusing right here in the very beginning of what this teacher is saying, your mind has went past that, and now you're focusing on something else. So what happens is that a lot of teachers, they do not have the proper academic behavior learning environment to put the child in. So a child with ADHD, they need to take more bathroom breaks. They need to be able to get up to more of a tactile environment to where they can engage, do more things hands-on. You try to get a child that's ADHD, you put them into a classroom going off the same curriculum that's been set up since the Industrial Revolution, because that's the truth. We're still going off educational standards that are based off the Industrial Revolution, and these kids are sitting in here trying to learn how to almost work inside a good factory job in a way, to where the ADHD brain doesn't think like that. You have Steve Jobs type brains. You have Sir Richard Branson. You have, all these amazing individuals that have created all these things. And if you don't put them inside the right environment to be able to see them move forward, you're going to see them find themselves getting in trouble, being suspended, and the data shows it. It's only 5% of individuals who have ADHD actually even graduate from college. Only around 28% of them graduate from high school. That right there is sad, because the thing is that their minds are moving that fast, and they need someone to be able to teach them how to harness their superpower. Same way with if you have Superman. Just give a prime example. If you get Superman and he's using his powers to give you a hug, he'll crush you.
Right.
But you had to be able to show Superman that, hey, you're too powerful. You're not like everybody else. So that hug has to be a little more gentle. The same way with ADHD, they have to be inside of an environment to where they can understand that their brains don't think the same, that their brains are a lot faster than the average student, and to be able to put them in an environment to where they can be successful. So a lot of the teachers are not really able to hone in on the student's superpowers the way that they need to. So in turn, what do? They get frustrated. The kid is talking too much. This kid knows too much. This kid is engaging too much. And I don't have time for that. I want to be able to get this child out of my class. So now the child thinks that they're dumb. The child doesn't like who they are. The child is acting out to be able to get other people attention, because they know how to engage in every single way to be able to bring people in, to be able to have them take in who they are, but they don't know how to speak out to the world to say, hey, I am different. This is the reason why I think the way I think and do the things that I do. So that's why I focus so much on allowing at-risk youth and just youth period with ADHD to be able to know, hey, you have abilities. You are not regular, but you're amazing. You're so amazing and you're so brilliant. And yeah, the teachers can't keep up with what you're thinking all the time. They can't catch up with the certain things that you're doing, but I want to let you know that you have these superpowers. And if you learn how to hone those superpowers and be able to move them forward, you can create anything. We have Apple Computer because of that. I look at it to where I've created tons of businesses. I've done so well, and it's like I had all odds to give. You got to understand, I graduated from school. I took the ACT. When I tried, I made a 13 because it was just so much that I had inside my mind that it was hard for me to focus. But I had a 3.5 GPA. The same time, it's like I get ready to graduate from school. I have a 3.5 GPA, and I got scholarships to be able to go certain places. But at the same time, I was reading on a second grade reading level. Something's wrong with their paradigm. This child is talented, but they need to be put inside the right environment. We cannot keep doing our children an injustice by putting them into a school environment to where you have first-year teachers that are coming in that have no experience working in the inner city. They have no understanding of how to be able to work with a child that has faced not only trauma, but not understanding who they are. And then when you put that together with them being at risk, not being able to get the right environment that they need or the right accommodations, but on top of that, you end up putting them into the school to prison pipeline. So that right there is everything that encompasses the fact that if we don't change those environments for the kids to be in, that school to prison pipeline is going to keep on happening. The parents are going to keep getting more and more calls until the parents stand up and say, no, this right here is the end of that. My child is powerful. He's wonderful. My child is beautiful. Let's look at what we need to do to get them what they need to move them forward.
So one of the small things, because there's a plethora of things, and we'll have more to come on, some free information on things that you can do. And Ryan has some stuff on his taputh.org website. But the one thing that stuck out to what you just said is what we've talked about before, Bougie Club, which is positive affirmations, where on a personal level I do I am statements, but what I heard you saying is translating those to the children to let them know you are this, you are smart, you are different, but it's okay because you have a superpower. It's okay that you're different, especially in a society where everybody wants everybody to be the same. And there's no sense of individuality. So parents, those I am statements, sit down with your kids and let them develop their I am statements so they can get familiar with who they are. And then when you're having those morning conversations on the way to school, or when you're debriefing, when you're coming home from work, reinforce who they say that they are. We had a challenge last week to ask three different people, a youth and someone you knew and a perfect stranger, 3 words to describe yourself. And the kids that I asked that question to, they were saying they were intelligent. One little boy told me he was sexy, intelligent, and intimidating. And I thought that was a wonderful combination. But when they start telling you who they are, reinforce it and like, you are so smart. I'm so proud of you, and those type of things. And we can start there. That's something simple. So I want to come back over here to you, because a lot of times people don't realize that there's an issue going on and that they need to seek help. One of the things that we're aware of, especially in the African American community, and it may be prevalent in other cultures, but I can only speak to my point of reference, is we don't seek mental health assistance. Like, it's something that we say, prayer fix it. You can pray it away. And my comeback to that was, well, Jesus was a healer, and people recognized that they had to go to him to get help. So why is it that we feel so much shame when it comes to seeking outside help for these issues? And I believe in the power of prayer, and I know that it can change things, but at the same time, when you have these resources available, we have to use them. So for you, what was that trigger to make you say, okay, there's something going on, I need to go outside of just praying and go get some help? Like, what can you tell somebody else that might be thinking, I probably need to take this a step further and go see somebody?
Okay, well, sure. First of all, you're not alone. As you say, people in the African American community, they sequester mental illnesses because of what our parents told us. What happens in this house stays in this house, and especially what you said about prayer fixes things. And all you need is Jesus. All you need to do is pray, and everything's gonna be all right. But this is not what people don't understand. Is there's a chemical imbalance going on in your brain. So therefore, you don't have any choice but to seek mental help. And seeking mental help, if you seek the right one, you're able to go through group therapy. You're able to go through cognitive therapy. All these things assist you in your journey. And again, is nothing to be ashamed of. My trigger was everything started just going wrong. From just a lot of stuff. 2015 was a horrible year. Everything went from bad to worse. And it's like, what is going on? What is happening? And then the alcoholism came into play. I started drinking nonstop, constantly, because my mind was constantly going. I was constantly in these real high ups and these real low downs, that the only way that I could see to have some sense of stability was to drink at that time. So at that point, after everything just kind of went wrong, it's like something is wrong. I went to a mental health facility and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And from there, I went through seeking treatment, through going to group therapy. And again, it's not, I don't even want to call it a disorder. It's a gift. You think differently than other people. You're not normal, and that's a good thing. So I guess my advice to people, especially in the African American community, would be to, seek mental help. If you feel like you need mental help, seek mental help. Seek a doctor. Don't let society's norms kind of weigh in on you to where you feel like you have to keep things to yourself and you can't branch out. You can't talk to people. You can't express your inner truth. So, that's me.
Okay, so let me look. We got some comments. I'm trying to see. Okay, so Miss Martin says that she's raising a son with ADHD and the parents are absent, and one is actually in prison who has ADHD as well, which kind of speaks to what you were talking about, how that kind of goes hand in hand since we're not doing anything proactively. From a community standpoint, is there anything that you want them to know? Is there information on your websites? I know you have information. Ryan has information on TapYouth.org for parents.
Yeah, we have support groups that are able to come to as well. Because we're bringing support groups here to the inner city where parents who are dealing with those issues can come in. We also have a incarceration prevention program to where it's an alternative sentencing to where if students who have ADHD are getting in trouble, they can be able to reach out to us. We can be able to go in and speak on behalf of them to help stop that. Also with the ADHD support groups, we bring in parents and mothers from all over to come in to get the help that they need and get the resources to move them forward.
So Memphis, if you have a child who's been diagnosed with ADHD and you're seeing a cycle of behavior problems, TapYouth.org, go there, start there, get some information and reach out to Ryan for services. For those of you all who have been diagnosed or you need a safe place to let it out and share, Miss Burton has your website is the UDProject. Is it .com or .org? .com. And she has a space where you can actually tell your story in 800 words or less, is it? And you can just vent and get it off your chest and share what you're feeling on the inside or how your mental health issues have impacted you. And the beauty of her site is it allows you to do it anonymously. So if you need to get it out and you really don't want anybody to know, or if you feel confident enough and you want to share your name or whatever, and I think sometimes getting it off your chest helps a whole lot, because when you start bottling all those emotions up inside, it can become difficult to manage and maintain, and it manifests in different ways. So TapYouth.org and the UDProject.com. Both of those web addresses will be listed in this live video at the top. So if you guys want to go back and check out those videos later, they will be available to you. I know it's Friday, and I know for me, Friday is family fun night, and so we won't keep you much longer. This is your girl, J. Penelope. We thank you, Mr. Burton, and thank you, Miss Burton, for coming on the show. Remember, you guys, these are two everyday people doing something epic every day to be the change that they want to see in their communities. This is your girl, J. Penelope, and remember, be bougie.